A doctor, please. Take your time, please.
Well, former President Donald Trump stopping in the middle of his own rally yesterday to go and help that young lady, someone in need of medical help, at his first outdoor rally since surviving the assassination attempt last month when he was shot.
Joining us now is the 45th President of the United States, who wants to be the 47th, and he is the GOP presidential nominee, President Donald Trump. President Trump, welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Mr. President, first off, first time you're doing an outdoor event. You didn't hesitate when you heard this woman collapsed. You walked over to see for yourself. Did you have any hesitation walking down those steps without the protective glass around you?
No, I didn't really. I wanted to help the woman. She had problems. She really had a problem. You know, it was very hot, close to 100 degrees. I'm going to be in a pretty hot place today, too, from what I just saw in your weather forecast. But she was in trouble. No, I didn't really. I didn't think too much about it. I don't want to think about it, actually. I felt we had very good protection.
Mr. President, when you listen to the DNC and all the speeches, they're spreading so many different lies, and we eat, breathe, and sleep this, as you do too, more than we do.
Right.
And you know that what they're saying is wrong, but you don't hear your take. There's no one fact-checking. And here is Governor Tim Walz trying to still connect you to Project 2025. Listen.
Some folks just don't understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder for people who are just trying to live their lives. They spent a lot of time pretending they know nothing about this. But look, I coached high school football long enough to know, and trust me on this, when somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they're going to use it. And we know if these guys get back in the White House, they'll start jacking up the costs on the middle class. They'll repeal the Affordable Care Act. They'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And they will ban abortion across this country, with or without Congress. Here's the thing. It's an agenda nobody asked for. It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us.
All right, so this is your chance to set the record straight. What's your response?
Well, first of all, he's a total lightweight, and he shouldn't be even having any access to possibly being president. The guy, he's been a terrible governor. They've had nothing but problems in their state. He has no capability. They call him coach. He's a semi-coach. He coached some football for a little while. This guy is a lightweight, and he shouldn't have access. And for him to say about Project 25 is disgraceful. They know I have nothing to do with it. I had no idea what it was. A group of people got together. They drew up some conservative values, very conservative values, and in some case, perhaps they went over the line, perhaps they didn't. I have no idea what Project 25 is, but they use it and they know it. Just like Charlottesville, totally discredited. They use Charlottesville. You know, Biden gets up all the time, says Charlottesville. He ran because of Charlottesville. He got run out of office by the Democrats. They did a coup on him, and he's sitting someplace in California on a beach. And because he's in California, it's crime-ridden place. It's not the same place. More people leaving than coming, and all of the things that these people have done. Kamala has been the worst. Everything she touched turned bad. California turned bad. San Francisco, you can't walk into San Francisco. You barely can go into California anymore. It's a state that's in terrible, terrible crime trouble and every other form of trouble, monetary trouble. It's got nothing, drugs all over the place. You go into Los Angeles, you can't walk down the streets. It's a shame between Gavin Newsom, but it was really more Kamala because she was your district attorney in San Francisco. San Francisco is unlivable now, unlivable. 15 years ago, it was the most beautiful city, one of the greatest cities in the world. Today, it's unlivable. It's going to have to be, hopefully, be able to be brought back if that's possible. Kamala, who's a Marxist and a radical left, frankly, she's a radical left lunatic. And if she became our president, if this country would turn out to be a big version of San Francisco or a big version of California itself. So these guys, they talk about that. They talk about all different things that they know are totally discredited. They have a thing with soldiers where I'm looking over the graves of soldiers and saying horrible thing about dead soldiers from World War I. It was totally made up. It was a made-up story, confirmed. That was confirmed, my side of it, by 26 people in the military, that it never happened. They had one lunatic talking about it, and they use it all the time. There's nobody that loves the military more than me. Nobody did more for the military. I rebuilt the military. They gave $85 billion of it away to Afghanistan in the dumbest and one of the most horrible things that's ever happened, probably the most embarrassing moment that ever happened to a country.
And she was the last one in the room. And she was the last one in the room when that decision was made.
She was the last one. No, she made the decision. She made the decision, and it was one of the most embarrassing decisions. Not, Brian, not the fact that we got out, the way they got out. I was ready to get out, but I was going to keep Bagram. That's one of the biggest air bases in the world. It was 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. 1 hour away. Very important that we keep it. They left Bagram. The biggest runway, most powerful runways can handle the heaviest loads. This was designed billions and billions of dollars years ago. We gave them the keys, and now China occupies Bagram. We should have kept that. That was the one thing we should have stayed, not because of Afghanistan, but because of China, and we gave it up. They took the soldiers out before they did. Soldiers first. We left people. We have, to this day, we have people living there that can't get out. 13 great people who I know the families, as you know, 13 great people killed, 45 absolutely obliterated, the arms, the legs, and hundreds of people killed during that day. People falling off planes, many people falling off planes from 3,000 feet up in the air. That's like 3 times the height of the Empire State Building.
President Trump, you're talking about...
so sad to see.
You're talking about
so many... have to listen to, excuse me, then I have to listen to a lightweight like this get up and absolutely lie, but they all lied. And they mentioned my name. I read where, and frankly, I watched where you said, your group said, you said specifically, I think they mentioned me 297 times. They mentioned the border once. They mentioned crime twice. They don't mention the economy because the economy is horrible. They defrauded the people of our country with the job numbers. You saw that. 818,000 fake jobs they put on the rolls. They thought they could keep it. They thought they were going to keep those numbers until right after the election when they could announce a revision, but they weren't able to do that because they had a leaker and somebody leaked the numbers. They were fraudulent job numbers, just like they have fraudulent crime numbers. The FBI didn't include New York, Chicago, and Oakland and a couple of other places that aren't doing so well in crime. If they would have included those numbers, they're the worst crime numbers we've ever had.
So, Mr. President, let's talk about Chicago. You brought it up. I had the opportunity. I've been going all over Chicago for years now, but I went to a barbershop, and there was a lot of people there. They talked about you. They talked about Kamala Harris stealing the tip plan from you. They say they're open. This is a little bit from the folks that I talked to. Watch.
We've been doing these barbershop tours since '03. And it's really enlightening to hear individuals start to change their political direction. I think it's time that blacks in general need to boost our political IQ. Stop being blindly faithful to a one-party system that does not work for us. So I've always liked Donald Trump. You know, he was an icon for years in our community. And all of a sudden now he's this big Klansman.
What changed?
I think the powers that be saw his potential in our community. If somebody, the Republicans started to come and really communicate in these communities, they'll come to barbershops and they'll start to see we're talking the same language, but they don't know how to communicate. So they'd rather not do it.
So, Mr. President, he says that you got to directly communicate to the voters. Will you be on the ground at barbershops, local communities, talking about the issues that matter to them?
And I am going to be doing that. I like that guy, and I like those people. And I watched yesterday as you did it. You are doing fantastically, by the way. I watched yesterday as you did the interviews. Those are great people. Those are people who just want safety. They don't want much. He wants to run his barbershop. The people that were getting the haircut, I was thinking about maybe going there myself because I like the work. Maybe they'd make my hair look better. I'd pay a lot of money for that haircut. They could make my hair look better. But, you know, honestly, those are great people. Those are hardworking people. They're strong, they're tough, and they know they're being conned by the Democrats. You have a corrupt political system in Chicago. Look at your governor. The governor's an incompetent guy. He was thrown out of the family business. He was Hyatt Hotels. I was partners with them years ago on a job in New York. They threw him out of the business. I know the family very well. They threw him out because they didn't want him in the business. He ends up being governor. He has money. He ends up being governor. He's incompetent. Look, the Chicago and the whole Illinois thing is very, very corrupt, but we're putting a big play there. We're putting a big play in New York. You have the same situation in New York. If you went to a barbershop, any barbershop that you're talking about, if you went to a barbershop in New York, in Los Angeles, in any place you want to talk about, you're going to find the same thing, the same reaction. They're really upset. And I watched the mothers on your show this morning before we went on. So sad. They've given up on life. You have the worst prosecutors. They go after guys like me. They go after me because I question the elections and things like that. It's nonsense. If you can't question an election, we don't have a country. But when people get killed, when their children get killed, nothing happens. I remember Jesse Smollett. I said, you got to prosecute this guy, and they did. But Jesse Smollett was given a free hand, and yet these killers, and they know who they are. The worst thing is they know who they are. They don't even go and pick them up. And you have many communities like that. Chicago's terrible in that respect, but you have many communities like that. Chicago 20 years ago was a great city. I built a great building in Chicago. In fact, I see it every time they do the skyline. But Chicago has gone really wrong, and I think I'm going to get a tremendous amount of votes from Chicago.
What would you do differently, Mr. President? What would you do differently, though? You see what the Biden administration, are you sending in the National Guard? Are you mobilizing the business? Are you going to change the education system? Day one, if there's a Donald Trump presidency, what would you do in Chicago?
First of all, I know the people in Chicago. I know the police because I built the building there. I spent a lot of time building it. It's a great building, a really great building. And what happened is I got to know a lot of people, including the police. You have a great police force in Chicago, just like you do in New York, just like you do in Los Angeles. You have great. They're not allowed to do their jobs. You've got to let the police do their jobs, number one. Number two, you have to do a policy of stop and frisk. When you see a guy coming down the street, and the police know every one of them. They know their middle name. They know where they live. They know every one of them, the local police, and they're great. You got to let them do their job. Stop and frisk and take their gun away. You've got to do it. If somebody has, because they have all these guns, it's very interesting. The toughest gun law, the toughest by far in the whole United States is in Chicago. And yet, it's the most violent. 4th of July weekend, 117 people were shot and 17 died. Think of that. That's worse than Afghanistan. Afghanistan doesn't have that. No place has that. That's a war zone. This last weekend, just prior to the start of the convention with all the police, everything else, do you know that so far 5 people have been killed? You don't read about it because the press doesn't want to report about it. 5 people have been killed in Chicago during the Democrat convention.
Right.
It's terrible.
Mr. President, let's talk about the Democratic National Convention. We'll stay in Chicago. Let's go to the stage. Tonight, Kamala Harris will take the stage. Many people have pointed out, if we're talking about policies, many of which you're talking about this morning, you win. If we're talking about personalities, it's playing into Democrats. And as you pointed out, they're trying to talk about your personality. Brian, interestingly, brought up, they're no longer saying you're a threat to democracy. They're saying things like you're a fraudster. And they are,
Selfish.
as you pointed out, putting lies out there like the suckers and losers hoax or the bloodbath hoax or the very fine people hoax. And Tim Walz said last night that you were going to introduce a national abortion ban. The question is, how do you, as Kamala Harris takes the stage, turn this into something about how you or she will affect the lives of Americans and less about you or Kamala Harris as personalities?
Well, first of all, in terms of personality, I don't think she has a personality because she's allowed crime to flourish wherever she wants. And if I were a person, I wouldn't like that personality. That's not the personality I want. Whatever she's got, they don't have it because San Francisco was crime-ridden, and it's gotten worse and worse. I mean, she had policies, $950. You can steal anything you want up to $950 in a store, and they're not going to prosecute the people. They have policies that are absolutely insane. This guy Walz comes out and he wants tampons sold in young men's bathrooms. You have to have tampons available, not even sold, available in young men's bathrooms. We're giving our government away when we put two lunatics like this in. They can't. If they take over our government as president and vice president, our country doesn't stand a chance. The whole world, I know every leader, the whole world is laughing at us. They can't even believe it's happening. Biden was incompetent. He was the worst president in the history of our country. I see the way they're trying to build him up. It was an overthrow. She is worse than him because she's actually a radical left Marxist. That's what she is. That's what she's always going to be. She's going to ban fracking. She's going to ban all energy production coming out of the ground. She is going to ban everything that's good, and she's going to go to like the all-electric car mandate. How ridiculous is that? They're too expensive. They don't go far, and they do have a market. But we want gasoline-propelled cars. We want hybrids. We want lots of things. We can have everything. What they're doing to our country is unbelievable. And most importantly, they've made our country very safe. And internationally, they've made it even more safe. As bad as when you see Chicago and the cities, as bad as they are, much worse internationally. We're going to end up in World War III because she's incompetent. Biden sent her. Russia would have never happened with Ukraine if I were president. Israel, the attack on Israel would have never happened. Iran had no money. They had no money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. But let me tell you, and a little-known fact, and the press doesn't want to talk about, Biden sent, I call her Comrade Kamala, sent Comrade Kamala to see Putin in Russia 3 days before the attack. She went, she said, she gave her case. He attacked 3 days later. He attacked 3 days later. He laughed at her. He thought she was a joke. Now he's really laughing when he sees her. Can you imagine her negotiating with President Xi of China, with Kim Jong-un of North Korea? The whole thing is like we're living in a fantasy land. And then I see the people. It's like they're having a party. They don't mention the border. All they do is make up lies about me. Every one of those things, and I'm really appreciative that you brought that up, Brian. Every one of those things is a lie, what they say about me. Project 25, I have no idea what the hell. And I don't even want to see it. I don't want to read it because I want to say I have no idea what it is. Some people get together. They do something that's extreme. I assume it's extreme. I don't know because I don't even want to see it. It doesn't matter. On abortion, I will bring it up. We did a great thing. We did something that for 52 years, people have wanted to do. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade. They wanted to bring that subject back to the states. Every Democrat wanted that, every Republican, every liberal, every conservative, and every legal scholar. And I did it. And it's now back in the state where it belongs. And they're taking votes. The states, Ohio came out with a much more liberal policy than people would have thought. Kansas, the same thing. Texas maybe will be different. And what it was is they want the vote of the people. They want, now I will say, like Ronald Reagan, I'm for exceptions, for for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I'm for exceptions. Ronald Reagan was for exceptions. Most people are for exceptions. You have to follow your heart. But it's being voted on, and an issue that's ripped our country apart for 50 years is being solved at the voting booth, and states are voting in what they want. And a lot of these policies, I will tell you, are much more liberal than people would have thought happened. But they say in the committee, I want a federal ban. I would never, and they know I've said it, there will not be a federal ban. This is now back in the states where it belongs. And again, every Democrat, every Republican, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated and brought back to the states. Then about 10 years ago, they started talking about the number of weeks and the number of this and that. No. Right now, it's in the hands of the people. The people in the individual states are voting. I did something that's going to bring our country together eventually, but because they lie so much at this convention, they make it sound like it's I want a federal ban. Won't happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's in the hands of the states.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.